for this discussion on how nonprofits can make a safe and secure migration to the cloud. I'm Brad Steinbacher from A Brave New, and joining me is Chad Stanfield, Director of Modern Data Center at REDAP. Chad, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Brad.
Well, let's just jump into it. What are some of the main benefits of the cloud for nonprofits?
Yeah, so when you're looking at the cloud benefits for nonprofits, especially working with Microsoft, they have a dedicated team, the Tech for Social Impact team, that really focuses in on nonprofits and the cloud capabilities that are there, as well as they have some unique offerings around nonprofit cloud and the cloud capabilities that are there with that. And so what we find with nonprofits is a lot of the benefits really help them operate a little bit more efficiently, helps them be more dynamic in their environment as far as sharing information with not only their customers, but the employees and all of the volunteers that help support these nonprofits. And that's a lot of the benefits we see when we migrate them up into the cloud.
Got it. So are there any common concerns nonprofits have with adopting the cloud?
I would say their concerns are similar to what everybody's concerns are. And it's really around, the efficiency of migration, the security once you're there for sure. And so I think they really share a lot of the similar concerns, and we're able to help. We've done a lot of business with nonprofits. We understand the unique business structure that they have, the volunteers that they have, and what that means as far as sharing information, being able to have an environment where individuals can bring their own devices, get access to what they need while still being secure there. And so we really help set up the appropriate environment within Azure that gives them that security and the flexibility that they need, and really makes it easy for their volunteers, because it's different than when you have employees. You could kind of mandate things and how things work. With volunteers, you need to take a little bit of a softer touch. And so being able to give them a dynamic and a flexible environment that still meets their security requirements has been very, very good to use Azure for.
So obviously the pandemic has been very challenging for nonprofits. How can moving to the cloud help them weather this current storm and be ready for the next one down the road?
Yeah, in a lot of the nonprofits that we've been working with and helping with the migration, the switch from a capital expenditure model into more of an OpEx or operational expenditure model, it really helps them. It gives them kind of a better forecast of what that's going to look like. It helps them be very dynamic to scale up and scale down as needed. We've seen some organizations be able to exit out of some building leases and really optimize their expenses that way by going into the cloud and not having to host on-premise data centers. It's really helped with the remote capabilities, right? A lot of these organizations were used to their employees being on site in a building, and going remote 100% added some challenges that we were able to help them overcome. And by leveraging Azure and the cloud, it really brings more predictability to what that growth is going to look like, as well as to their costs and their expenses, and the elasticity of the cloud, right? Scale up, scale down really helps especially in a pandemic world where you just don't know. Things could change very, very quickly.
You mentioned the specific tools that Azure has. Can you go into a little more depth on them? What exactly do they provide nonprofits?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily specific for nonprofit in the tooling that is there. There's quite a few tools that are available to help any migration, including the nonprofits that they have. Really, I'd focus on what we're talking about here was the migration side and the security side that's there. And so with the tooling that's there is Microsoft specifically provides some tools that help us understand how to optimize the cloud migration, as well as the expenses once you're up into the cloud. We can get them right sized so you're not overspending or overusing assets there. We get them appropriately sized for what's needed. And we can also replicate that information up very easily up into Azure, whether it's doing a lift and shift migration, server to server, just moving that up into Azure, whether we're doing some replatforming, maybe introducing some optimization like Kubernetes or other containerization capabilities out there, or rewriting some applications to make them a little more streamlined or a little more cloud friendly. All of these things really we can help out with, and there are tooling that simplifies that process and makes it just less disruptive to the organization as we're doing these migrations.
So if a nonprofit decides to go a DIY route to the cloud, what are some of the common pitfalls they should, be on the lookout for?
Yeah. So when you're going DII, the biggest thing that you need to look out for is the landing zone. And the landing zone really is, what does the foundation of the Azure environment look like when you start moving your resources and the assets up into it? The knowledge of security, the compliance needs that you have to meet, to making sure that it's developed correctly to meet both the security and compliance that you have there. Really need to be careful with kind of just the lack of experience, right? The IT staffs are very capable at these nonprofits, but they have their day job, which is keeping the nonprofit running and going. And that's where we can come in as Redapt, and we really help out. Our day job is migrating organizations up into the Azure cloud. And so we bring with us a lot of experience that help reduce that cut over time and help get you to a more secure and stable state a lot faster. So really, I would say if you want to look at doing it on your own, make sure that you understand your security requirements, the compliance requirements that you're going to have, and that you're able to build that landing zone appropriately to not only meet your requirements of today, but also be able to scale out tomorrow. And then ensure that you understand, the tools that are available and which tool is best given the scenario that you're trying to migrate.
So when a nonprofit works with Redapt, like when they partner with Redapt to migrate to the cloud, what does that process generally look like? What are the steps involved?
No, absolutely. So we work very closely with the Microsoft nonprofit team as well, and we look for maximizing the programs that are available, whether that means accelerating a timeline, maybe supporting in some funding areas, getting the right folks available to get these projects done quickly that understand the needs of nonprofits. And then we work with the architects to make sure that we understand the requirements around the environment, the security, the compliance requirements, the remote access needs that are there, and really what the environment's running and how to optimize that once it's up in Azure. We then go through those architectural meetings and we build out the landing zone that would support that environment. And then we start the migration efforts. And those could look different depending upon what application's being moved, whether it's servers or a right sizing of the servers, or whether it's changing an application into refactoring into Kubernetes, or something that's a little more PaaS or SaaS driven within the Azure environment that's there. Really, the benefit is it comes with experience. We've worked with a lot of nonprofits. We understand, all of the capabilities and solution sets that are available in Azure. We can help navigate which one is the best one to use and why it would be the best one to use. For example, you just look at firewalls. Firewall seems very simple to put in. We all know that we need a firewall in our environment, but there's the native firewalls in Azure, and there's third-party firewalls that are out there. And there's pros and cons and benefits to each of those. And so we'll be able to walk through what those are, walk through experiences we've had with other organizations and nonprofits, and help make the right decisions going forward.
Great. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Chad, thanks for joining me today. And if you're a nonprofit or any organization looking to migrate to the cloud, I encourage you to reach out to the experts like Chad at Redapt. You can find them at redapt.com. Thanks, Chad.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brad.